There's a pattern in military history that has destroyed every world power that believed it was untouchable. And right now, in 2025, the United States is following that exact same pattern stage by stage, defeat by defeat, almost like we're replaying a script that has ended in catastrophe every single time before. This isn't speculation, it's not theory, it's the historical blueprint of collapse. Stage 1. Peak dominance. The world fears you. Allies depend on you. Technology, morale, and training are unmatched. You don't just win wars, you define the rules of war. Stage 2. Internal decline begins. Budgets shrink behind the word efficiency. Training standards drop. Recruitment falters. Equipment ages. But everyone insists everything is fine. Stage 3. Reputation carries the empire. Enemies still hesitate. Allies still believe the guarantees. But under the surface, rot spreads quiet, invisible, unacknowledged. Stage 4. The first shocking defeat. A war or a battle that should have been easy is lost. And suddenly, the world sees the truth. The empire isn't invincible anymore. Stage 5. The cascade. Enemies press everywhere at once. Allies hedge or abandon ship. The empire loses faster than it can respond. Stage 6. The end of dominance. The superpower retreats to survival mode. Military reach collapses. The world forgets the empire was ever feared. This is the cycle that killed the greatest armies in history. Rome's legions destroyed after one disaster at Adrianople. France's military humiliated in 6 weeks in 1940. The Soviet Union power shattered after Afghanistan 3 times. 3 world powers, 3 total collapses. And the United States, after 80 years of global supremacy, is now sitting at the exact same stage they were in right before the fall. Not stage 1, not stage 2, not stage 3. Stage 4, the moment where reputation can no longer hide reality. The moment where enemies begin testing boundaries. The moment where history starts accelerating. This series is the story of how superpowers lose their edge and why every warning sign says America's turn has come. In the 5th century BC, Athens was the closest thing the ancient world had to a global superpower. Its navy didn't just dominate the Aegean, it controlled it. Every island, every trade route, every rival bent to Athenian will. The Persians, the greatest empire on earth at the time, had already tasted humiliating defeat at Athenian hands. To the world, Athens was unbeatable. That was stage 1. Peak, power, absolute confidence, zero doubt. Then, slowly, the decline began. Not because Athens was attacked, not because the enemy grew stronger, but because power made Athens arrogant. The city stopped adapting. Politics turned into ego. Strategy turned into theater. Leaders made decisions for glory, not necessity. Athens believed its naval supremacy was permanent, guaranteed. That was stage 2. Internal decay, disguised by previous success. Still, enemies hesitated. The name Athens was enough to deter war. Its fleet, though increasingly fragile, still looked terrifying on parchment. Its confidence still convinced others that resistance was suicide. Stage 3. The myth was stronger than the truth. And then came the disaster that ripped the mask off. Athens launched a gigantic expedition to Sicily, a campaign that was unnecessary, reckless, and based entirely on the belief that Athens could never lose. Tens of thousands of the best sailors and soldiers were sent. Hundreds of ships, the pride of the empire. They never came home. At Syracuse, the greatest navy of its age was cornered, crushed, annihilated. Nearly every ship lost. Nearly every soldier killed or enslaved. One defeat. One miscalculation. One moment where Athens discovered the truth. Invincibility was only a story Athens told itself. This was stage 4, the first defeat that should never have happened. From there, history accelerated. Sparta, once afraid to challenge Athens, suddenly saw opportunity. Allies rebelled, Persia jumped in, Athenian walls fell. Their empire collapsed, not over centuries, but within a single generation. Athens learned the same lesson every superpower eventually learns. The most dangerous enemy is not outside the empire. It is the arrogance growing inside it. And today, the United States is dangerously close to making Athens' exact same mistake, thinking the ocean will always belong to it. Fast forward nearly 2,000 years. Another superpower rose wealthier, wider, more feared than anything before it. Spain. By the late 1500s, Spain was the richest nation on earth. Gold and silver poured in from the New World like an endless river. With it came power, vast armies, immense fleets, a global network of colonies. Spanish monarchs believed they weren't just ruling by force, they were ruling by divine right. That was stage one supremacy, fueled by both steel and faith. But while the empire looked untouchable, the rot had already begun. Spain didn't build strength, it imported it. Foreign gold replaced domestic industry. Nobility replaced merit. Commanders were chosen for status, not skill. The empire became heavy, slow, confident, too confident. Stage 2 was underway, decay hidden beneath mountains of silver. Yet to the outside world, Spain still radiated dominance. No navy dared challenge the Spanish fleet. No kingdom dared defy Spanish authority. The name Spain alone was enough to win battles. This was stage 3 reputation doing the work that real capability no longer could. Then the king made the same mistake Athens had made. He assumed victory was guaranteed. In 1588, Spain launched the Invincible Armada, the largest fleet Europe had ever seen. Its mission: crush England, overthrow Queen Elizabeth, restore Catholic rule. Spain believed God literally supported the mission. Failure wasn't considered. Failure wasn't possible. But the English didn't fight Spain's war. They fought smart, smaller and faster ships. Precise hit-and-run tactics. Fire ships that broke the tight Spanish formations. Exploiting every rigid flaw Spain refused to admit existed. Then nature joined the battle. Storms scattered ships across the sea. Thousands drowned. The proud armada limped home, beaten, broken, humiliated. One defeat, and the myth died. This was Spain's stage 4 moment. The world realized what Spain refused to see. God wasn't on their side, physics was. Spain still had armies, still had ships, still had gold, but they no longer had fear on their side. Rebellions exploded. Rival powers attacked. The empire shrank at a speed Spain could hardly comprehend. Stage 5. Collapse in motion. Stage 6. Supremacy erased. Spain would never again dominate oceans or empires. The first global superpower learned the same brutal law that destroyed Athens. Prestige is not power, and power that cannot adapt dies. Japan was not supposed to become a superpower. In the mid-1800s, it was feudal, isolated, technologically behind. But then in one of the fastest transformations in history, Japan modernized its military, industry, and society in a single generation. The world thought Japan would always be backward. Japan proved the world wrong. It crushed China in 1895. It humiliated Russia in 1905, the first time an Asian power defeated a European empire in the modern era. By 1941, Japan had the most elite naval aviation on Earth. Its pilots were unmatched. Its carrier fleet was state-of-the-art. Its military culture was fearless. This was stage 1 explosive dominance fueled by relentless innovation. But success is a drug, and Japan overdosed. Military expansion demanded more resources than Japan could produce. Every new conquest required the next one to pay for it, a dangerous cycle hidden behind early victories. Stage 2 had arrived, decline masked by momentum. But just like Athens and Spain before them, Japan believed in its own mythology, that spirit and discipline would always defeat industrial might, that a bold strike could break a rival's will before the war truly started. America was seen as soft. Undisciplined, unprepared. Japan assumed the Pacific belonged to them. And then came Pearl Harbor. A bold attack, yes. A strategic victory in the short term. But it gave Japan something far more dangerous than an enemy. An enemy fully awake. Japan still believed it could maintain initiative, control the tempo of war, and force America into negotiation. But 6 months later, the moment of truth arrived. Midway, June 1942. America had broken Japan's naval codes. Japan walked into a trap. In a single day, Japan lost 4 frontline aircraft carriers vessels that took years to build and crews that could never be replaced. That was stage 4, the humiliation that exposed the truth. Japan could start a war, but it could not win one. After Midway, Japan fought on, but the collapse was now inevitable. America outbuilt, outproduced, out-innovated. Japan was pushed back island by island. Cities burned. The empire of the rising sun fell in fire and surrender. 3 empires, 3 unmatched militaries, 3 sudden collapses triggered by one single defeat each. And now, a 4th stands in the same place, not knowing or refusing to believe that its Midway has already happened. Athens ruled the seas. Spain ruled the world. Japan ruled the future of naval warfare. Each believed they were the exception. Each believed history would bend for them. Each discovered the same unforgiving truth. Military dominance doesn't die slowly. It dies suddenly and publicly. Look at the timing. Athens, one disastrous campaign empire gone within a decade. Spain, one shattered armada, centuries of retreat. Japan, one battle at Midway, collapse inevitable. Not gradual decline. Not carefully managed transition. A single moment that exposes reality. Because here's what every empire forgets. Reputation lasts longer than capability. But reputation collapses faster than capability recovers. For years, Vienna, Paris, Beijing, and Washington all believed their armed forces were unmatched. The world feared them, until the day the world stopped. That's stage 4, the cracking point. It's the first time the myth loses a fight. It's the moment the world sees weakness. It's when enemies sharpen their knives and allies start whispering, maybe they can't protect us anymore. Let's break the pattern down clearly. Stage Jeden. Peak power, true dominance, new technology, easy victories, global respect. Stage 2. Internal decay. Budgets optimized. Standards lowered, morale eroded. But victories from the past cover the decline. Stage 3. Reputation shield. Everyone still believes the empire is unbeatable, including the empire itself. Stage 4. First, humiliation. One defeat that should never have happened. Everything changes overnight. Stage 5. Cascade of losses. Multiple fronts, not enough resources. Allies hedge, rivals gamble, credibility collapses. Stage 6. End of dominance. The military can no longer project power. The empire retreats from the world stage. Rome followed it. France followed it. The USSR followed it. Athens, Spain, Japan all followed it. Every empire arrives at stage 4 believing one thing. We are different. We are exceptional. We cannot fall. History's response is always the same. No empire is different. Only the timing changes. Now look at where the United States is today. The stage isn't unclear. It isn't debatable. It revealed itself on global television in August 2021. America has already crossed the line from stage 3 to stage 4. The myth is cracking. The world has noticed, and the pattern has begun. For 80 years, the United States has been the dominant military force on Earth. No one questioned it. No one challenged it. After the Gulf War in 1991, Washington wasn't just a superpower, it was the superpower. The US could fight 2 major wars at once and still win both. Precision weapons, stealth aircraft, global bases, unmatched logistics, America set the standard. Everyone else copied. That was stage 1, peak, unmatched power. But while America celebrated victory after victory, something else was happening, something invisible, slow, and dismissed. Stage 2 began without a single headline. Endless wars drained the force, but not the confidence. Recruiting struggled as fewer Americans wanted to serve. The Navy shrank from nearly 600 ships to under 300. Air Force aircraft aged faster than replacements arrived. Defense spending ballooned, but lethal capability didn't. Bureaucracy expanded while readiness declined. Internal politics and culture wars eroded unity and discipline, all while generals claimed everything was fine. And because the US still looked dominant carriers everywhere, fighters streaking across the sky, high-tech missiles showcased in training the world believed America remained unstoppable. Stage 3 reputation was doing the heavy lifting. That illusion lasted until a place called Kabul. 20 years. $2 trillion. A US-built Afghan army supposedly strong enough to hold a country. And yet Taliban fighters on motorcycles and pickup trucks retook Afghanistan in 11 days. 11. The world watched the most expensive military project in US history disintegrate instantly. Afghans falling from evacuating aircraft. US Marines guarding a collapsing airport perimeter. Allies abandoned. Billions in gear left behind. Cows broadcast live. 13 US service members killed. 4 presidents involved. 2 decades undone in less than 2 weeks. This wasn't just a bad ending. It was a global revelation. America, the superpower that defeated Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, lost to insurgents without jets, tanks, or satellites. That was stage 4, the first defeat that should never have happened. And the whole world took notes. China watched. Russia watched. Iran watched. North Korea watched. Every adversary suddenly knew. The United States is not what it used to be. The mask was gone. The myth was broken. The pattern is active. Athens had Syracuse. Spain had the Channel. Japan had Midway. America had Afghanistan. If Afghanistan was the moment the world realized America could lose, then everything that has followed is the proof that the decline isn't over, it's accelerating. Every critical indicator that collapsed Rome, France, and the Soviet Union is now blinking in front of us. You don't need to be a general or historian to see it, just look at the numbers. 1ID. Recruiting. The ranks are emptying. The US military cannot find enough volunteers. Every branch is short. The Army missed its 2023 goal by 25%. Standards are being lowered because otherwise there won't be enough troops. A superpower without soldiers is just a logo. Arjube. Equipment. Aging into irrelevance. The US is flying B-52 bombers from 1,955. The Minuteman III nuclear missiles are from the 1,972nd. Most Air Force jets are older than the pilots who fly them. Warships are decade past design life. Meanwhile, China builds more ships in 1 year than the US can manage in 5. Treyub. Readiness. You can't fight if you can't function. Fewer than 50% of Air Force fighters are mission ready. Maintenance backlog keep destroyers stuck in port. Training hours are being cut because parts are too scarce. A weapon that can't deploy is just scrap metal. 4 point. Stockpiles, the arsenal is barely an arsenal. The Ukraine war exposed the truth. The US does not have enough ammunition for a long war. It manufactures fewer artillery shells per month than Russia fires in a weekend. Superpowers don't win wars with empty warehouses. Wudir, technological edge, no longer guaranteed. Hypersonic missiles? China and Russia have them operational. The US doesn't. Drone warfare? America's drones are being shot down in Ukraine by cheap electronic jammers. Space assets? Vulnerable, and there's no backup plan. The battlefield has changed. America is still fighting 20th century wars on PowerPoint slides. Ludamsh. Allies. Confidence is breaking. South Korea is openly considering nuclear weapons. Saudi Arabia is signing defense deals with China. European leaders speak about strategic autonomy, meaning, we don't think America will show up anymore. This is the part history never forgives. When allies doubt, enemies act. These are not normal problems. These are stage 4 problems a superpower has right before history speeds up. The same problems Rome ignored as the barbarians marched. The same problems France ignored as panzer engines roared. The same problems the USSR ignored as helicopters burned in mountains. Every warning light is on. But Washington keeps saying, relax, we're still the best. That's exactly what every collapsing empire said, right before Stage 5 hit them all at once. Here's the part of the pattern every superpower fears and none survive. Once Stage 4 exposes the truth, Stage 5 doesn't wait. Weakness invites pressure. Pressure invites chaos. And chaos arrives everywhere simultaneously. That's the cascade. Every enemy that once hid in the shadows suddenly steps into the open, not one at a time, but all together. Because why fight the superpower in a fair fight when you can drown it from all sides? For the United States, the scenario is no longer theory. It's a list. China, Taiwan. China already outnumbers the US Navy in the Pacific. War game simulations run dozens of times produce the same result. The US loses. Not because China is invincible, but because America can't get there fast enough. Russia, Europe. If Russia pushes deeper into Eastern Europe, the US must respond. But respond with what? Logistics stretched. Ammunition low. And wars don't pause while you restock. Iran, the Middle East. If Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, oil prices explode. Then the global economy follows. US forces would be forced to intervene again. North Korea, the Korean Peninsula. If North Korea attacks while America is tied down elsewhere, South Korea might stand alone. Confidence in US protection gone. Any one of these conflicts would be a crisis. 2 would be a disaster. All 4 at once? That's how empires fall. Because here's the truth, Washington refuses to say out loud, the US military does not have the manpower, the ammunition, the ships, or the time to fight multiple major wars at once. Not anymore. Superpowers don't collapse because they lose one war. Superpowers collapse because they try to win everywhere and end up winning nowhere. That's what happened to Rome defending borders too wide. France alliances it couldn't uphold. The Soviet Union bleeding out in proxy wars. And now, it's America's turn to learn the rule. If you commit to defend everything, eventually you defend nothing. All it takes is one sunk carrier, one failed defense treaty, one ally lost. And the illusion of American global military dominance dies in real time. Broadcast live, streamed worldwide, clipped on social media. Stage 5 doesn't take years. It takes days. And once it starts, history moves faster than anyone is prepared for. Stage 6 is the moment the world moves on and the superpower no longer gets a vote. It's when global dominance doesn't fade, it drops off a cliff. The empire doesn't stop existing, but it stops defining the rules. The commander becomes the observer, the enforcer becomes the bystander. For the United States, Stage 6 wouldn't look like conquered cities or foreign troops marching in Times Square. It would look like something far more subtle and far more irreversible. America stops shaping the world. The world starts shaping America. Here's what it means in practice. 1ID, U.S. foreign bases close, not by choice. When allies believe the American umbrella leaks, they start making deals with whoever can protect them or they build their own shields. A superpower without forward presence becomes a regional power overnight. 2-1. The dollar loses its throne. Why trade in the currency of a military that can't enforce stability? China, Russia, the Gulf states are already building alternatives. The fall of a currency is the fall of influence. 3. The U.S. Navy retreats to the homeland. Not enough ships, not enough replacements, not enough shipyards. The oceans, once an American lake, become contested again. Sleju, due as, deterrence collapses. No one fears consequences. Threats become punchlines. War breaks out precisely because America cannot afford another. 5 through. Diplomacy turns into begging. The U.S. no longer commands, it pleads. Former partners pretend to listen, then do what benefits them. It's exactly what happened to Rome no longer able to leave its walls. France reliant on stronger friends for security. The USSR reduced to defending its borders. Stage 6 is not destruction. It's demotion. The United States won't vanish. It will still have wealth, culture, and a large military. But the role changes. From global referee to one player among many. From rulemaker to rule taker. From superpower to former superpower. And the most painful part is this. Everyone else will notice the fall before Americans do. Empires rarely realize they've collapsed until years later when textbooks quietly switch tenses. From leads to led. From controls to controlled. Unscrewed. From is to was. That is the silence of Stage 6. No sirens. No speeches. No surrender ceremony. Just a world that no longer asks America's permission. Stage 4 doesn't feel dangerous until Stage 5 begins. And when Stage 5 begins, Stage 6 arrives almost immediately. History proves it. Rome took 32 years to collapse after Adrianople. The Soviet Union took 2 years after Afghanistan. France took 6 weeks after the German breakthrough. The stronger the illusion of invincibility, the faster the collapse when the illusion breaks. And the United States? The illusion shattered in August 2021. Afghanistan wasn't the end of American military dominance. It was the signal that the end has begun. The world saw a superpower that could not defeat insurgents with rifles. A superpower that abandoned allies in panic. A superpower that lost billions in equipment to a militia. A superpower that claimed control while the situation collapsed live on television. Every adversary locked that moment into memory. America can be beaten. Now the clock is ticking. The only unanswered question is, how much time is left before Stage 5 begins? 5 years? Maybe 10? Maybe less? Because once China moves on Taiwan, once Russia pushes further into Europe, once Iran tests the Strait of Hormuz, once North Korea strikes when no one is watching, the United States will have to choose. Who do we save? Who do we abandon? Where do we sacrifice credibility first? Because a superpower stretched too thin is a superpower already defeated. And when that first major crisis breaks the system, a sunk carrier, a lost ally, a failed guarantee, Stage 6 will not arrive politely. It will slam the door behind Stage 5. And the era of American-led global order will end faster than anyone in Washington believes possible. This doesn't have to be inevitable. But to stop the pattern, the United States would have to do what no declining military power in history has ever done: admit the problem, confront reality, rebuild before collapse accelerates. Rome didn't. France didn't. The Soviet Union didn't. Athens, Spain, Japan didn't. They all believed, we are different, it can't happen here. And history replied every time, it always happens here. America is at stage 4. The pattern is active. The future is already watching. The only question left is, will we change or will we become the 4th superpower this pattern destroys?